a swimming pool around the reef, meaning that very close to the reef it is deeper than in the rest of the area because the waves make a hole there with the centuries.
So the waves make kind of like what castles used to have around.
Exactly. We came all in the Zodiac, all divers, we came in the Zodiac. We have two very good boatmen where the waves bring everything and take everything out. Hello everyone and welcome to Underwater Adventures with Alex Mirabal. Today we will be talking about risking your life for archaeology. So let's dive into it. We all have the image of archaeology that is coming from the Indiana Jones movies, in which every situation is super dangerous and you have to fight all the way to preserve these artifacts or to find these, and there are plenty of enemies and you are in very difficult places. Okay, we also all know that this is not true. Archaeology in itself as an activity is quite a peaceful one, is quite a boring one, let's say it this way. But we work in maritime archaeology, and maritime archaeology, it will pose some threats, it will pose some dangers that you will have to deal with, challenges that you will have to deal with, and that's what I wanted to talk with you today. There are two main reasons why maritime archaeology could be dangerous, and one of them, and the most obvious one, is that it happens in the sea. And here I have to point, because it happens in the sea, but at the same time what we do within the maritime archaeology field is shipwreck archaeology. We study shipwrecks, we work on shipwrecks, and shipwrecks in their nature, they are in the most complicated places in the sea. That's why they sunk in the first place.
First, maybe silly question. What other type of maritime archaeology is there that doesn't involve shipwrecks?
All right. It's not silly. It's a valid question because I have been asked that quite a lot. Obviously, most of the maritime archaeology people related to shipwreck. But there are plenty. I mean, everything which is of archaeological interest, which is under the water, it belongs to underwater archaeology. Let's not call it maritime, but underwater archaeology. You could be excavating or researching human settlements which are under the water, sunken cities. There are quite some coastal constructions from the past, shipyards and stuff that today are under the water. They belong to the underwater archaeology field.
So that means that there are sunken cities that are actually real and not just conspiracy
theories. No, there are. You can see Port Royal in Jamaica. Yeah. There are sunken cities which are super interesting to study because cities from I think Port Royal sank in the 18th century. I can't remember. It is a very interesting story. But yeah, what we do is mostly shipwreck archaeology. Within the scope of underwater archaeology or maritime archaeology, we do shipwreck archaeology. And nobody wants to sink a ship. So they sank because conditions are difficult in those places. Navigation is difficult. There are plenty of reasons why exploring and working on shipwrecks could get dangerous. And this is few of the examples I want to share with you today on how doing your work you can get in the way of danger. And I am very proud, and I still am very proud that after so many years, by now 38 years or so of activity, leading teams around the world, I have never had in my team a serious accident. An accident.
And as your daughter, I am very happy to.
Yes, actually, I'm happy or I'm proud for nobody in my team had a serious accident, something that you really would regret afterwards, because it is part of my job to try to to work the most and the best possible, and this energy and this focus on the job could sometimes be the reason why you overlook some of the safety measures. I haven't done it. I'm proud of that. I'm happy that even if we work quite intensively, that we are very efficient and that we are very productive in our work, we do it, let's say 90%, 99% of the time with all the safety measures that will allow us to be, all workers to be safe. But still, you get some moments in which you have to face danger, and we have quite some, let's call it, close calls in our work that none of them ended up in any tragedy, but they are worth to be shared because it will help somebody else in the future not to make the same mistake. Totally. I can tell you from now, from the start, I think like a spoiler, all these situations which I will share today with you all involve a human mistake. It is not just because there is a human mistake involved somewhere, always. Normally mine. But okay, let's start. This maybe is a video that will have a second and a third part because we have had quite some of these close calls, situations which can be considered dangerous. And today I will touch few of them, and maybe if you guys like the video, maybe I do a second episode on this or a third episode because we have well, fortunately we have plenty of examples that we can tell because otherwise we wouldn't be able to tell the story. That would be sad, but
yeah,
okay,
not the case.
Not the case. The first one I will talk about an accident of a diver of our team in the Lady Burgess shipwreck in Cabo Verde, in the João Valente reef. I have talked about this wreck and how challenging the working that wreck was because it is in a reef which is in the middle of the Atlantic, let's say it this way, because it's surrounded by great depths, and the weather there, even if it's in excellent conditions, it is difficult to dive the place because the waves are coming from every direction. It is very deep around the small reef, and the wreck is there by the side of the reef. So the normal formation of these reefs, when they are so shallow, there is always, the waves are always, like we call it, washing the reef, because you see the breakers all the time. Around the reef, the strength of the wave creates a sort of a bathtub, a swimming pool around the reef, meaning that very close to the reef, it is deeper than in the rest of the area because the waves make a hole there with the centuries.
So the waves make kind of like what castles used to have before around
exactly.
to protect themselves with water.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the...
Me neither. Sorry, guys. I will Google it and put it somewhere.
Yeah, please put it. In Spanish it's foso. Yeah. I don't know in English.
I don't remember.
But okay, yes, anymore. It's a formation very similar to that, which obviously, if there is a shipwreck in the area, most of the artifacts will be piled up in this place because this is a place where the waves bring everything and take everything out. At the same time, this place around the reef, it is in a way safer than any other place because it's deeper. So you have to go really close to the reef, dive there, and grab yourself on the seabed to be able to excavate that wreck, the Lady Burgess. The main problem with this, we wanted to avoid by all means that someone or the Zodiac or the little boat that takes us to the dive spot in the wreck, neither the Zodiac or a diver will end up in the reef because that was deadly. It is it already sunk the Lady Burgess. It could sink any other ship and it could be very dangerous. So what we need to do, our routine working on that wreck was that we came all in the Zodiac, all divers, we came in the Zodiac. We have two very good boatmen in Cabo Verde. The name of one was Alex and the other one was Abel. These guys were very good with the engine. So they had to drop us in a buoy where we had marked the excavation spot. They have to drop us there. That was very close to the breakers in the reef. And then they have to speed up going out and anchor, or not anchor, but to tie the boat in one place that we have put for the boat to wait for us at the end of the dive. And at the end of each dive, we will swim out of the reef, so swim in the direction of the boat. We knew where the Zodiac will be on anchor waiting for us. And that part of the journey, it was, let's say, the biggest danger we faced during the entire dive. Because working down there, as I said, it is reasonably safe. It is not totally safe, but
I was thinking when you said that, I wonder, the deeper you go in that area close to the reef, the more protected you kind of are of the waves and the current keep on breaking on top of you. I get it that you need to hold on to something, but that protects you more than being a little bit up where you can still be dragged by the force of the waves,
yes,
no?
that's totally correct. And this is one of the things we wanted to avoid at all costs, that a diver will end up in the surface. The surface there is the most dangerous place you can be, because as you mentioned, you can be dragged, you can be pushed against the reef, and that's exactly what you don't want. But for instance, for us, and the deeper you are, the safer you are. And in this place, we call it deeper because the rest is like 0 meter depth, but we are in 5 or 6 meters close to the reef. Yes. So what we need to do in that place is to carry with us a lot of weight. In our weight belt, you have to carry a lot of weight because you want to be really heavy and down to the seabed. I have an example because even down there, when big waves come, they have to evacuate all this water through the channel in which you are working, and all this water, it can be also very dangerous even if you are down there and you have a good grab. There was one wave that got me unbalanced. I normally quite well attached to a cannon or an anchor or wherever I'm working. There are a lot of natural outcrops in the seabed that you can grab yourself. So you have to really be attentive and you have to grab yourself. And when you feel that a big wave is coming, you have to stop what you're doing, hold yourself there and wait for that set of 3 waves to pass and then continue what you're doing. In one of those times, it got me off balance. I was careless or something, and the wave got me when I was holding only with one hand to a cannon. I can't remember. Yeah, it was with my right hand. I'm looking because I still have the scar here. And I was grabbing to a cannon and I didn't have time to use my other hand. The wave pushed me, but it is like a steady pressure on you till the wave finished. It's like a steady pressure on you, pushing you one way. And I was grabbed to a cannon and there was a spike in the copper spike from the shipwreck that was concreted by the side of the cannon. And I saw how the spike came into my flesh and it was going in and in, and you cannot do anything. Because if you lose your grip, then it's much worse. Because then you...
That's the safest thing that you can have, is a hole in your arm.
Just watch how this spike is getting into you. Well, it is a minor thing. It was not something really...
Sure.
But I had to make a decision in that moment if let a spike pierce my skin and my flesh slowly, or losing my grip and ended up in somewhere that could be much more dangerous.
And I can imagine rookies would have gotten, me included, I'm kind of imagining it, would have gotten maybe a little bit scared about that thing perforating your arm. You take it away and you're gone. Like, I can imagine myself making that mistake right away.
Yeah, you have actually to overcome a very natural reaction, which would be let it go. I don't want this to... Mind
over matter, literally.
But yeah, well, anyway, that was a wreck in which we didn't take any rookie. I mean, we were all experienced divers. I wouldn't put anybody in that risk. But the most dangerous moment during the dive, it was the moment of leaving, because you are finishing your dive, you have few air left, and you need to swim out of the reef to the Zodiac, which is waiting for you 120 meters away, not that far, but it is not by your side, it's in a calmer place. But in doing so, you have to go out of this bathtub or this channel around the reef, which away from the reef, in the way to the Zodiac, it has also a wall that you have to jump over, a wall that gets like about 1 meter under the surface. And this was the most dangerous moment because you have to go over that wall and go in deep waters again and keep on swimming to the Zodiac. We did that every day, 3 times a day, all the divers. We knew that that was our, let's say, most dangerous moment of the dive. And one day, this diver went over that little wall, that's as we did every day. And in doing so, his weight belt got tangled with the rocks on the seabed, and the weight belts have this system that you can open them very easily to drop the weights.
The buckle came out.
Buckle came out and you drop the weights, and the guy immediately went
flying
up to the surface in 1 meter, and the next thing we knew was that the wave got him and threw him exactly in the place we didn't want him to be, or anybody, which was on top of the reef of the Joao Valente area. This is deadly. The guy just landed there, a big hit. He got the very big hit in his hip. And funny enough, I said funny enough, because many people will feel that this is a little bit weird. The guy was a very good swimmer. And that you would say, well, okay, he's a diver. Everyone is a good swimmer. No, there are plenty of divers which are bad swimmers. They don't know how to swim without the gear.
And I don't know enough divers yet, but as an ex-swimmer, I have seen even enough swimmers be too confident and not pay attention to the laws of the ocean are quite different. You were talking about waiting for the set to be over, and I was just thinking that's also one of the first things that anyone that teaches you how to surf teaches you.
Exactly.
If you fell off your board and you're being dragged and you know that the set just started, stay under.
Yep.
The 10 seconds that you're under without any breath feels much more longer than it is, but it's not. Just wait for a couple of waves and then come back up. Yeah.
In this case, being a good swimmer actually saved his life, because when he landed, the problem with this surface of the reef in Joao Valente is that every time that a wave goes out and it comes another wave, it is dry. It is dry. You are just laying in dry ground with a bottle in your back, and I mean, you are like a cockroach upside down. That's really bad. You don't want that. But the guy was quick enough. He took his jacket and his bottle off, and in the next wave that came and hit him and rolled him over the reef, he managed to swim out, and we managed to rescue him with the Zodiac. It was a very close call. The guy was terrified. We had to take him to the hospital that evening. We abandoned the place. We went with him to the hospital. I thought that his problem with the hip was worse, but there was no fracture. There was no real broken bones or anything, but he needed to rest and be seen by a doctor. We came back the next day to keep on working on the shipwreck. Everyone much aware that what happened to him, he was a very good diver and a very good swimmer. So if it happens to him, could happen to any of us.
To any of you guys.
And in this case, we go with the human error again. We have done that every day, 3 times a day for months. We knew that was the most dangerous moment in the dive. You shouldn't be careless or confident because you do that 3 times a day. You have to be as attentive and as careful as the first time you did it. So we left this diver in the hospital and came back to the wreck after 2 days, like 2 days later, and we continue working there. One of the things I wanted to do was try to find his dive gear, because as he took his...
I was going to ask, did you guys just leave it in the coral, or what happened in the reef?
No, when we got the diver out of the water and we brought him to the boat, we didn't have the time to go and try to find his bottle and his regulator and his BCD, so we really have to move with him. But when we came back, obviously the bottle and the...
Gone.
This is all gone. But, you know, what we do is finding lost things in the sea. So I said, let's make an exploration around the Joao Valente reef and try to find his dive gear. And I will explain now why this is important, because I mean, it looks like something very stupid going after some material for diving after such a dangerous situation. But yeah, we did that. We went around the reef, we swam all around the reef, and one of the divers found in a certain spot, he found the bottle after 3 days already, the bottle of this diver with the regulator, everything a little bit broken and all torn out from the rocks and everything. But it had a very good information for me, because I immediately thought, okay, if after 3 days of this thing going around in the reef ended up here,
then the artifacts must be here.
Because this is a natural collector. So I moved part of the excavation team over there and said, let's excavate here. And we were very lucky because we found plenty of artifacts, a bunch of gold coins that were in that area as well, beautiful pieces of bottles and medicine items and inkwells made of pewter, beautiful artifacts, thanks to the fact that a part of the dive gear of the diver got lost, and the sea decided. These are things you have to analyze when you are working on shipwrecks and you are working in the sea. How is the dynamic of the currents and the waves and everything? So where the artifacts would be naturally collected. You have to identify these, we call them natural collectors. You have to identify them, and sometimes you have the situation, an unexpected situation like this one, that ended up giving you like a second front of excavation in a wreck where there was a very high amount of artifacts, and it was in a place that was not directly related to the excavation place that we were. So it was like a second part of the ship that we haven't discovered yet. And a situation like this helped us doing that.
This is how an accident became data collection really quickly.
It's a little bit of an unorthodox way of finding artifact. Okay, it's a little bit painful, but you can also use these mishaps in your benefit. Look, I'm seeing now that I was talking just about one of the cases I wanted to share with you today, and we are already, it's a quite long video. And I was thinking that if you guys like this content, if you like these stories, let me know in the comment section, and we will then bring other cases of these dangerous moments that you have to go through in this work, and we will make different videos about it. It took me too long.
We should definitely make it a series. These are really cool stories. I think we should make it a series, and if you guys think so too, please let us know.
Yeah, so guys, if you like the video, please leave me a like, share the video with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it, and let's keep on diving.